The morning sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse, casting golden streaks across the marble floors. Marcus Wellington stood at his espresso machine, his mind already churning through the day's meetings, a merger with a tech startup, lunch with investors, and evening gala. At 31, he built an empire that most people only dreamed of, turning a small software company into a billion-dollar enterprise that had revolutionized cloud computing. He was so lost in thought that he barely noticed Sofia Martinez quietly preparing breakfast in the kitchen's corner, moving with the practiced efficiency she'd perfected over the past 2 years. At 27, Sofia had worked for Marcus longer than any of his previous housekeepers. She was different from the others, quieter, more determined, with a fierce work ethic that reminded him of his own mother. "Mr. Wellington," Sophia's soft voice broke through his concentration. There was something different in her tone today, a tremor of nervousness that made him look up from his phone. "Yes, Sophia?" She wiped her hands on her apron, her dark eyes meeting his for just a moment before darting away. "I'm sorry to bother you with something personal, but—" She paused, gathering courage. "Today is Emma's first day of school. Pre-K. She's been so nervous, and this morning she woke up crying, saying she was scared." Marcus nodded politely, unsure where this was going. He knew Sophia had a daughter. He'd approved the background check that mentioned her, but he'd never met the child. Sophia kept her personal life carefully separate from her work, never asking for special treatment or bringing her problems into his home. "She asked me." Sophia's voice cracked slightly, and she cleared her throat. "She asked if someone big and strong could walk with us to school, so she'd feel safe. Her father, he left when she was a baby, and she sees other children with their fathers, and I think—" The words hung in the air between them. Marcus felt a strange tightness in his chest. He should say no. He had a 9 o'clock meeting that he absolutely couldn't miss. His time was worth thousands of dollars per hour. Walking a 4-year-old to school was not on his agenda. But something in Sophia's expression stopped him. In 2 years, she'd never asked him for anything. Not a day off, not a raise, not a single favor. She worked 12-hour days, keeping his penthouse immaculate, preparing meals he barely had time to eat, and never complained. He knew she took the subway an hour each way to get here, knew she sent most of her salary back to her mother in Mexico, knew she was doing this all alone. "What time?" he heard himself ask. Sophia's eyes widened. "Mr. Wellington, I didn't mean you don't have to." "What time does school start, Sophia?" 8:30, but really, you have your meetings." "I'll move them." Marcus pulled out his phone, already typing a message to his assistant. "Where is she now?" "In the staff room." "I hope that's okay. My neighbor who usually watches her in the morning got sick, and I had nowhere else." "It's fine." Marcus set down his coffee cup. "Let me meet her." Sophia led him through the penthouse to the small room near the service entrance, where she sometimes took her breaks. Curled up on the sofa was the tiniest person Marcus had ever seen. Emma Martinez had her mother's dark hair, pulled into 2 neat pigtails, and wore a bright yellow dress with sunflowers on it. Her backpack, nearly as big as she was, sat beside her, covered in cartoon characters he didn't recognize. When she saw Marcus, her eyes went wide. He realized he must look intimidating in his tailored suit, towering over her at 6'3". "Emma," Sophia said gently, "this is Mr. Wellington. He's the man I work for. Can you say hello?" The little girl slid off the couch and, to Marcus's surprise, walked right up to him. She tilted her head back to look at him, completely unafraid. "Are you a giant?" she asked seriously. Marcus couldn't help it. He laughed, a real laugh that surprised even him. "No, I'm just tall. You must be Emma." "I'm 4, she announced, holding up 4 fingers. "Today is my first day of school, and I'm scared because I don't know anyone, and Mommy says I have to be brave, but I don't feel very brave." The honesty in her words hit Marcus unexpectedly. When was the last time someone had been that truthful with him? In his world, everyone wore masks, said what they thought he wanted to hear, played games to get what they wanted. He crouched down, so he was at her eye level. You know what? I was scared on my first day of school, too. Really? Emma's eyes widened. Even though you're so big? Even though everyone gets scared sometimes. But your mom told me you asked for someone big and strong to walk with you to school. Would it help if I came along? Emma studied him with the intense scrutiny only a 4-year-old could manage. Then, slowly, she reached out and took his hand. Her tiny fingers wrapped around two of his, and Marcus felt something shift inside his chest, a crack in the armor he'd built so carefully over the years. Okay, Emma said. You can come, but we have to hold hands the whole way because that's the safest. Deal, Marcus said. 20 minutes later, Marcus Wellington, Forbes 30 Under 30, CEO of Wellington Technologies, owner of properties on 3 continents, found himself walking down a New York City sidewalk holding the hand of a 4-year-old girl in a sunflower dress. Sophia walked on Emma's other side, carrying the enormous backpack and shooting him grateful glances that he pretended not to notice. Emma talked the entire way. She told him about her stuffed rabbit named Mr. Floppy, about how she could count to 20 in both English and Spanish, about the teacher she was going to meet who her mother said was very nice. She pointed out dogs and pigeons and interesting cracks in the sidewalk. She asked him if he liked cookies, yes, if he had any pets, no, and if he believed in magic, he found himself saying yes to that too. By the time they reached the small brick building that housed the pre-K program, Marcus had learned more about dinosaurs, fairy princesses, and the proper way to make a peanut butter sandwich than he'd ever thought he'd need to know. The schoolyard was chaos, a swirling mass of small children and anxious parents, everyone navigating the emotional minefield of that first separation. Marcus stood out like a lighthouse, his expensive suit drawing curious glances from the other parents in their casual clothes. He caught snippets of whispered conversations, saw the recognition dawn in some eyes. The famous Marcus Wellington here? At a public pre-K? But Emma's hand tightened in his, and he forgot about them all. There are so many kids, Emma whispered, pressing closer to her mother's leg. Her earlier bravery was evaporating in the face of reality. A little boy ran past, screaming with laughter, and Emma flinched. Sophia knelt down, adjusting Emma's dress and smoothing her hair. Remember what we talked about, Mija. You're going to make so many new friends. Your teacher, Miss Rebecca, is waiting inside, and she has a whole room full of toys and books, and I don't want to go. Emma's voice was small, and Marcus saw tears gathering in her eyes. I want to stay with you, Mommy. Marcus watched Sophia's face, saw the way she was struggling to stay strong even though her own eyes were glistening. How many times had he watched his own mother put on a brave face, hiding her exhaustion and worry so he wouldn't be scared? The memory hit him with unexpected force. Before he could think better of it, Marcus crouched down beside Sophia. Hey, Emma, remember what we talked about? About being scared? Emma nodded, one tear escaping down her cheek. Well, I'll tell you a secret. The really brave people aren't the ones who aren't scared. They're the ones who do the thing even when they are scared. And you know what else? What? Emma's voice was barely a whisper. Your mom is going to be right here when school ends. That's a promise. And promises are like magic. They always come true. Always. Always. Emma looked at her mother, then back at Marcus. Will you be here too? The question caught him off guard. He should say no. He'd already rearranged his morning. He couldn't possibly. Yes, he heard himself say. I'll be here too. Promise. Promise. Emma seemed to consider this. Then, with a solemnity that made Marcus's throat tight, she held out her pinky finger. Pinky promise? Marcus linked his pinky with hers, their fingers comically mismatched in size. Pinky promise. A teacher appeared, a young woman with a warm smile and a name tag that read Miss Rebecca. You must be Emma. We're so excited to have you. I've been saving a special spot just for you at the art table. Do you like to draw? Emma looked up at Marcus one more time. He gave her what he hoped was an encouraging nod. Then, taking a deep breath that seemed to fill her whole small body, Emma let go of her mother's hand and took Miss Rebecca's instead. "Bye, Mommy." "Bye, Mr. Giant," she said, and then she was gone, disappearing into the building with one last backward glance. Sophia stood frozen, watching the door where her daughter had vanished. A tear slipped down her cheek, and she quickly wiped it away. "I'm sorry, Mr. Wellington. I know you need to get to work. Thank you for doing this. You have no idea what it meant to her. To both of us." Marcus checked his watch. 9:15. His rescheduled meeting started in 45 minutes. He could make it if he left now. But Sophia looked so lost standing there, and he found he didn't want to leave her alone with whatever she was feeling. "Coffee?" he asked. Sophia blinked. "I'm sorry. There's a cafe across the street. You look like you could use a coffee." "I know I could." "Mr. Wellington, I couldn't possibly. You've already done so much." "Sophia." He waited until she met his eyes. "It's just coffee. And I think after walking a 4-year-old to school together, you can call me Marcus." They sat in the small cafe, surrounded by other parents in various states of emotional recovery. Sophia wrapped her hands around her cup like it was anchoring her to earth. "I didn't cry," she said suddenly. "I promised myself I wouldn't cry in front of her, that I'd be strong, and I held it together. But now—" She laughed shakily. "Now I want to run back there and bring her home." "She was brave," Marcus said, "because you taught her to be." "I just want to give her everything," Sophia said softly. "Everything I didn't have. My mother raised me alone too, worked 3 jobs so I could stay in school. I swore when Emma was born that I'd do better, be better. But some days I feel like I'm barely keeping my head above water." Marcus found himself telling her things he never talked about his own mother, who'd cleaned houses and offices to put him through school after his father died, about scholarship applications filled out at kitchen tables late at night, about wearing shoes until they fell apart because there was no money for new ones, about the shame and determination that had fueled his rise. "She'd be proud of you," Sophia said quietly. "Your mother. Look at everything you've built." "She didn't live to see it," Marcus said, and was surprised by the old pain in his voice. "She died my 2nd year of college. Heart attack. The doctors said it was from years of stress and overwork." He stared into his coffee. "Sometimes I think about what I would give, what I would trade, to have her see what came of all her sacrifices." They sat in silence for a moment, 2 people from different worlds bound by the common thread of strong women who'd given everything. Sophia's phone chimed. She glanced at it and smiled. "It's the school's parent app. They send photos throughout the day." She turned the screen toward Marcus. There was Emma, sitting at a table with 3 other children, paintbrush in hand, tongue poking out in concentration. She was smiling. "She's okay," Sophia breathed. "She's actually okay." "Of course she is," Marcus said. "She's your daughter." Marcus made it to his rescheduled meeting with 5 minutes to spare, though his assistant Jennifer nearly fainted when he walked in. "You're never late," she said, looking at him like he'd grown a second head. "In 5 years, you've never rescheduled a morning meeting." "I was about to call the hospital." "Something came up," Marcus said, but found himself smiling. "Something important." The meeting itself was standard, a potential acquisition that would expand his company's reach into the Asian markets. The numbers were good, the projections solid. He should have been focused, but his mind kept drifting to a little girl in a sunflower dress asking if he believed in magic. When 3 o'clock rolled around, Marcus looked up from his computer to find Jennifer standing in his doorway again, this time with an expression of complete bewilderment. "Mr. Wellington, your 4 o'clock called to confirm, but I have in my calendar that you're leaving at 3? She said it like she was announcing the apocalypse. "For a school pickup?" Marcus closed his laptop. "That's right. A school pickup," Jennifer repeated slowly.
You.
Marcus Wellington. Are leaving early to pick up a child from school. Is there a problem with that? No, sir, it's just, are you feeling all right? Should I call? Jennifer, I made a promise to a 4-year-old, and I'm not breaking it. Reschedule the 4 o'clock. He arrived at the school 10 minutes early and found Sophia already there, pacing nervously near the gate. When she saw him, her expression shifted from surprise to something softer. You came, she said. I know you're busy, and I wouldn't have blamed you if. I made a pinky promise, Marcus said seriously. Those are legally binding, I believe. Sophia laughed, and Marcus realized he liked the sound. The doors opened, and children poured out like a dam had burst. Marcus spotted Emma immediately, her yellow dress bright among the sea of small humans. She was holding hands with another little girl and talking animatedly. Then she saw Marcus, and her face lit up like Christmas morning. Mr. Giant, you came. You really came. She broke away from her line and ran to him, and without thinking, Marcus scooped her up. She was lighter than he expected, warm and solid in his arms. I promised, didn't I? I knew you would, Emma said with the complete certainty of childhood. I told everyone about you. I told them my giant friend was coming to pick me up, and some kids didn't believe me, but look, you're real. She waved at her classmates, several of whom were staring wide-eyed at Marcus. Their parents were staring too, phones discreetly coming out. Tomorrow, he'd probably be all over social media. Billionaire Marcus Wellington picks up child from school. He found he didn't care. How was your first day? Sophia asked, her hands reaching for her daughter, her face glowing with relief and pride. The words tumbled out of Emma in a torrent. She'd painted a rainbow, made a friend named Zoe, learned a song about days of the week, had crackers and cheese for snack time, and found out there was a class turtle named Mr. Speedy who was actually very slow, which she found hilarious. And tomorrow we get to bring something for show and tell, and I'm going to bring Mr. Floppy, and Miss Rebecca says that's perfect, and can we get ice cream to celebrate my first day? Please, Mommy? Please. Sophia's expression faltered. Marcus knew what she was thinking. Ice cream meant money. Money meant cutting something else from the budget, and she'd already taken the morning off to handle Emma's first day. I know a place, Marcus said quickly. Best ice cream in the city. My treat. To celebrate Emma's bravery. Mr. Wellington, we couldn't. Marcus, he corrected. And yes, you could. Besides, Emma promised to tell me about Mr. Speedy the Turtle, and I can't possibly wait. They ended up at a small Italian gelateria in the village, tucked away on a side street. Marcus hadn't been there in years, not since his mother had brought him as a child, saving up coins to afford the treat. The owner, an elderly man named Giuseppe, was still there, and if he recognized Marcus, he gave no sign of it, treating Emma like the royalty she believed herself to be. Emma got chocolate with rainbow sprinkles. Sophia chose vanilla. Marcus, seized by some nostalgia he couldn't name, got the stracciatella his mother had always ordered. They sat at a small table by the window, Emma chattering between bites, getting chocolate on her nose and not caring. Sophia laughed more than Marcus had ever heard her laugh at the penthouse, her whole face transforming. You know, Emma said seriously, you're really good at being a friend, Mr. Giant. Thank you, Emma. You're pretty good at it, too. Are you going to walk me to school again tomorrow? Marcus opened his mouth to say no, to explain about meetings and responsibilities and the impossibility of rearranging his entire schedule. Can I? He asked instead, looking at Sophia. She met his eyes, and something passed between them. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. Two people who'd fought their way up from nothing, who understood the weight of promises and the value of moments. Yes, Sophia said softly. You can. The next morning, Marcus was waiting in the penthouse kitchen when Sophia arrived at 6:30. She stopped short when she saw him, already dressed for the day. You're up early, she said. Couldn't sleep. kept thinking about Emma's show and tell. He poured her a cup of coffee. He'd learned she took it with cream and 1 sugar. Did she bring Mr. Floppy? Sophia's smile was answer enough. The walk to school became their routine. Every morning, Marcus would rearrange his schedule, pushing meetings to later in the day or conducting them by phone as he walked. Emma would chatter about whatever was on her mind. The cloud that looked like an elephant, the dog she wanted to get someday, the injustice of bedtimes. She asked him questions no one else would dare ask. Why are you so rich? Do you ever get lonely? What's your favorite color? He found himself answering honestly.
Blue. Sometimes, yes.
And he was learning that money couldn't buy the feeling of a small hand trusting in his. Other parents began to recognize them, the unusual trio that showed up each morning. Some kept their distance, intimidated by Marcus's reputation or his net worth. Others, braver or more curious, struck up conversations. Marcus found himself learning the names of Emma's classmates, hearing about classroom dramas with the gravity they deserved. The afternoon pickups became his favorite part of the day. No matter what else happened, deals that fell through, stocks that dropped, competitors who gained ground, Emma's face when she saw him made everything else fade away. 3 weeks into the school year, Emma brought home a drawing. It showed 3 stick figures, one very tall, one medium, one small, holding hands under a yellow sun. That's you and me and Mommy, Emma explained unnecessarily. That's us being a family. Marcus felt something crack wider in his chest. Sophia was very quiet. That night, after Emma had been picked up by Sophia's neighbor and Sophia was finishing the dinner Marcus wouldn't eat because of his fundraiser, he found her in the kitchen with tears streaming down her face. Sophia, what's wrong? She shook her head, wiping her eyes. Nothing's wrong. Everything's. I'm just overwhelmed. Emma's teacher pulled me aside today. She said Emma's flourished these past few weeks, that she's more confident, more engaged. And I know it's because of you, because you've shown up for her every single day, and I don't know how to thank you for that. You don't need to thank me, Marcus said quietly. She's given me something too. I didn't realize how empty my life had become. How I'd built all of this. He gestured at the penthouse, at the life he'd created, but somewhere along the way forgot why I was building it. Why were you building it? Sophia asked softly. So my mother's sacrifices wouldn't be in vain. So no one could ever make me feel small again. He laughed without humor. But a 4-year-old made me realize I'd made myself small anyway. I'd shrunk my life down to numbers and deals and things that don't actually matter. Sophia stepped closer. They matter. What you've built, it's extraordinary. So, is what you're building, Marcus said. Emma is extraordinary because you're extraordinary. They stood there in the kitchen, the distance between them charged with something neither wanted to name. Marcus's phone rang, breaking the moment. It was Jennifer, reminding him about the fundraiser. He'd promised to make an appearance, to write a check, to be seen. Go, Sophia said. I'll finish up here. But as Marcus rode in his car to the event, surrounded by New York's elite, making small talk with people who saw him as a wallet or a connection, he couldn't stop thinking about stick figures holding hands under a yellow sun. The next day was Saturday. Marcus had been invited to a golf outing with potential investors. Instead, he found himself texting Sophia, "What are you and Emma doing today?" The response came quickly. Nothing special. Playground, maybe library. Can I come? Sophia's reply took longer. You want to spend your Saturday at a playground? I really do. The playground was in Central Park, busy with weekend crowds. Emma shrieked when she saw Marcus, running to him and demanding he push her on the swings. Higher, she called. I want to touch the sky. Marcus pushed, watching her soar, her laughter bright against the autumn air. Sophia sat on a nearby bench, and after Emma had moved on to the slide, Marcus joined her. This is where I bring her on weekends, Sophia said. It's free, and she can run around, and I can pretend we're just like everyone else. What do you mean? That we're not one crisis away from disaster. That I'm not constantly calculating if we can afford new shoes or if I can make her winter coat last another year. Sophia watched Emma climb on the jungle gym. You've given her something precious these past few weeks. Not just your time, but hope. She believes the world is full of magic now because a giant listened to her when she was scared. Sophia. But I need you to understand something, Sophia continued, turning to face him. Emma gets attached easily. She's already drawing pictures of us, as a family. And when this ends, when you get tired of rearranging your schedule for school runs and playground visits, when you remember your Marcus Wellington, and we're just the people who work for you, it's going to break her heart. And I need to know if you're prepared for that. The question hung between them, heavy with more than just concern for a 4-year-old. What if I don't want it to end? Marcus asked quietly. It has to end. You live in a penthouse. We live in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens. You have galas and meetings and a company to run. I clean houses. These past few weeks they've been beautiful, but they're not real life. Why can't they be? Before Sophia could answer, Emma ran up, breathless and beaming. Mr. Giant, I made a friend. Her name is Sarah and she has a dog, and she says I can pet him. Can I? Marcus looked at the little girl waiting nearby, her parents watching cautiously. Of course. But ask the parents first, okay? Emma ran off, and Marcus made a decision. Monday morning, Marcus called an emergency board meeting. His directors filed in, confusion evident on their faces. I'm making some changes, Marcus announced. Effective immediately, I'm restructuring my schedule. No meetings before 9 a.m. or after 3 p.m., Monday through Friday. The room erupted. That's impossible. The Tokyo deal requires. Marcus, you can't seriously. I can, and I am. His voice cut through the protests. I've spent 10 years building this company, working 80-hour weeks, sacrificing everything for growth. And we're successful. We're profitable. We're stable. What we need now isn't more of my time. It's better systems, stronger leadership at every level, and a CEO who remembers that companies are built by people for people. His CFO, Patricia, leaned forward. Marcus, what's this really about? It's about being present for the things that matter. It's about a little girl who asked if I could walk her to school, and how that simple request reminded me why I started this company in the first place. My mother worked herself to death, so I could have opportunities. I'm not going to waste those opportunities by making the same mistake. The room fell silent. We'll make it work, Patricia said finally. God knows you've earned the right to set your own hours. But Marcus, is everything okay? Everything's better than okay, Marcus said. I'm just finally figuring out what success actually looks like. That afternoon, at school pickup, Marcus noticed Sophia seemed anxious. What's wrong? He asked as Emma ran ahead to feed the ducks in a nearby pond. I got offered another job, Sophia said quietly. A family in Connecticut. They have 3 children, and they're offering me 50% more than you pay, plus room and board. I could save so much more, could get Emma into better schools eventually, could... Take it, Marcus said immediately, even though the words felt like swallowing glass. That's an incredible opportunity. I haven't accepted yet. Why not? Sophia watched Emma tossing breadcrumbs to the ducks, her yellow jacket bright in the fading light. Because Emma asks every night if you'll be there in the morning. Because she's never been this happy. Because I've never been this happy either, Sophia said softly. These past few weeks, feeling like we're part of something. It's probably foolish, but I keep thinking about that drawing Emma made. Us as a family. Marcus's heart was pounding. What if it wasn't just a drawing? Marcus, don't. What if I'm not just saying this because of Emma? What if I'm saying this because somewhere between arguing about the proper way to tie shoes and learning the names of every single turtle at the zoo, I fell in love with both of you? Sophia's eyes filled with tears.
You don't know what you're saying.
Your world and mine, they don't mix. I've seen how those other parents look at us. I've heard the whispers. Poor little Maid and her daughter, the Billionaire's charity project. Let them whisper. I don't care. But I do. I've worked so hard to build a life for Emma, to stand on my own 2 feet, to never be anyone's charity case. If we do this, whatever this is, everyone will say I trapped you, that I used my daughter to get to your money. And what do you say? Marcus asked. What does Emma say? As if summoned, Emma came running back, duck feathers in her hair. Can we get pizza for dinner? Please? And can Mr. Giant come? Marcus looked at Sophia, everything he felt written on his face. Emma, Sophia said carefully, what if Mr. Giant came to dinner at our apartment? Would you like that? You mean our real home? Yes. He can see my room and Mr. Floppy's house and everything. That night, Marcus found himself in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens that could fit inside his penthouse 3 times over. The furniture was secondhand but spotlessly clean. The walls were covered in Emma's artwork. It smelled like cinnamon and home. Emma gave him the full tour, showing him every treasure with the pride of a museum curator. Her bedroom was barely big enough for a twin bed and a small dresser, but she'd made it a kingdom. Sophia clearly slept on the pull-out couch in the living room. Over pizza at the tiny kitchen table, Emma chattered about her day while Sophia and Marcus exchanged glances that said everything words couldn't. After Emma fell asleep, her head in Marcus's lap during a movie, Sophia carried her to bed. When she returned, Marcus was looking at the photographs on the wall, Sophia and Emma through the years, the documentation of a life built from love and determination. I was 17 when I came to America, Sophia said. Pregnant, alone, scared. Everyone said I was throwing my life away, that I should give Emma up. But I couldn't. She was mine. She's lucky to have you. I want to say yes, Sophia whispered, to whatever you're offering. But I need to know it's real. That you're not going to wake up one day and realize you've made a mistake. Marcus pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside were 2 keys. One is to the penthouse, he said. The other is to a place I've been looking at, a brownstone in Brooklyn. 3 bedrooms, a backyard near a good school. I was thinking if you wanted, we could make it ours. All 3 of us. Marcus, that's too much. I'm not finished. I don't want you to work for me anymore, Sophia. I want you to be my partner. In every sense of the word. I want to walk Emma to school every morning not because I'm rearranging my schedule, but because it's our schedule. Our family. Our life. You barely know us. I know that Emma likes her sandwiches cut into triangles. I know that you sing in Spanish when you think no one's listening. I know that you've built something extraordinary out of nothing, and that you're the strongest person I've ever met. I know that my mother would have loved you both. And I know that I haven't felt this alive in years. Sophia was crying now. What if it doesn't work? What if? Then we'll figure it out. Together. But Sophia, I've spent my whole life calculating risks and rewards. This is the surest thing I've ever felt. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. 3 days later, Emma came running up to Marcus at school pickup, waving a piece of paper. Look what I made. It's my family for the family tree project. The drawing showed 3 stick figures again, but this time they were standing in front of a house with a tree in the yard. She'd written their names carefully. Mommy, Mr. Giant, Marcus, Emma. Miss Rebecca says we have to bring photos of our family for the project, Emma said. So we need to take some. As a family. Right, Mommy? Sophia was standing behind Emma, and when Marcus met her eyes, she was smiling through tears. Right, Sophia said softly. As a family. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the backyard of their Brooklyn brownstone, pushing Emma on the tire swing he'd installed. Sophia was planting flowers in the garden, dirt on her jeans and happiness on her face. Inside, pizza was warming in the oven, their Friday night tradition. His phone buzzed with notifications about a deal closing, stocks rising, accolades being awarded. He glanced at them and put the phone away. Higher. Emma shrieked. I want to touch the sky. As he pushed her higher, watching her soar against the sunset, Marcus thought about that morning months ago when a 4-year-old girl had asked him to walk her to school. How he'd been annoyed at the interruption, had almost said no, had nearly missed out on everything that mattered. Dinner's ready, Sophia called from the porch. Emma jumped off the swing and grabbed Marcus's hand. Race you inside, Mr. Giant. She took off running, and Marcus followed, letting her win like he always did, into the house where his family was waiting, where dinner was warm and laughter was abundant, where success was measured not in dollars, but in moments like these. Later that night, after Emma was asleep and Sophia was curled against his side on the couch, she asked, Do you ever miss it? The penthouse, the galas, the life you had before? Marcus thought about it seriously. Not for a second. Not even a little. He kissed her forehead. I still have the company. I still do the work I love. But now I have something I love more. Now I have everything. His phone lit up with a message from Jennifer. The quarterly reports are in. Record profits. Marcus smiled and put the phone away. The real profit was here, in this moment, in this house, with these two people who taught him what wealth actually meant. What are you thinking about? Sophia asked. About a little girl who asked a giant to walk her to school, Marcus said. And how that giant found his way home. Outside, the city hummed with its endless energy. But inside, in a brownstone in Brooklyn, a new family was building something that no amount of money could buy, a life filled with love, laughter, and the kind of magic that only happens when someone shows up, keeps their promises, and chooses what matters. Emma's drawing hung on the refrigerator, held up by magnets. 3 stick figures under a yellow sun holding hands. A family she'd written in careful letters. And for the first time in his life, Marcus Wellington understood what true success looked like. It looked like this.